What is going on, everybody? We got a very, very, very special episode for you today. If you don't know who I am, I'm Michael T. Ragland, aka your friendly neighborhood FUD fighter. And today we have not one, but two guests with us. Of course, we have our main man, Dirty Dan.
Are you calling me a guest?
Oh yeah, he's always here.
I'm a host with you, mate.
He's always here. So we have our man, Dirty Dan, aka Detective Dan. Many shout out to you guys who checked out our last video on the OpenSea hack. Like Detective Dan went super deep on that, and that video is going crazy. So shout out to you guys. Feel free to click the link below in our Discord if you want to join the conversation around the OpenSea hack. But I don't want to keep our friend and guest Kristine waiting. So Kristine is a YouTuber as well as a NFT novice who's somebody who has a lot of questions about NFTs. So I think this would be a super cool episode to bring her in and ask her a couple questions. But I gotta have a one question for her before she gets to ask hers. So Kristine, my first question for you is, I'm always curious about how did you find out about NFTs? Like what drew you into this whole world?
That is such a good question. This was probably about from only 2 months ago. I was just having a chat with a friend who mentioned NFTs, and that was it. I was like, what are NFTs? And then I found out that a cousin of mine who's 24 years old, he's deep in the world of it, and basically changed his life through this world. And I was like, all right, what's happening? And then that began the rabbit hole.
Legit. I mean, I think that's what happens to all of us. I think when it comes to NFTs, I'll just quickly share how I got in for the people who don't know here that watch us. For me, like always been into crypto since like 2013, but it was a similar thing. Like I seen crypto kitties and I just was like, not yet. In 2017, I seen that whole bubble situation. And then it wasn't until probably this past year, like I went down a rabbit hole of like an obsession of collecting like basketball cards and stuff. And I heard about something called NBA Top Shots, and they said that you could own moments. And I'm like, what do you mean moment? So it was literally like LeBron hitting like a game-winning shot. I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like I can just download those from YouTube. And stupidly enough, I didn't pay attention to Top Shots. And it was probably a month or two later when I eventually started paying attention to stuff and jumped in. But Dan, what kind of drew you in, man? Yeah.
It was back in 2015 or 2017 when I bought some land. So I bought some virtual land, which was Decentraland.
This guy's rich.
A mate and I spent, a mate and I bought 2 plots for $150 each, and then we totally forgot about it. And then it wasn't until this year that we started to hear people talking about metaverse and stuff, and we looked at our wallet and we still had it there. So that was a spark. But I've tried to make my own projects. It's hard work releasing your own stuff. So that's what we're here for, and we're here to share and educate people.
100%, guys. So I don't want to keep it any longer. I know that Kristine probably has a lot of questions that a lot of people that are new to NFTs want to ask. So I want to throw it to Kristine. What was your first question for us, Kristine?
All right, so I have been learning about NFTs for about 2 months now, kind of like on and off. It's something that I do in the background, like I'm running a business. And so my initial question at the beginning was, how does one go deep in this world when you're living a life and you want to understand this deeply, but you feel as though you're going in a slow pace?
I get it. I mean, I think I'm gonna kind of do what everybody does to new people to NFTs. It's first of all, you want to do your own research. I think people say that all the time, but nobody kind of tells you how to do your research, right? It's like you do your own research, then you end up getting, there's a term called rug. Do you know what rugged mean?
I've seen lately what rug, is that rug? Does rug mean when you've invested in something and then it just didn't work out? It wasn't a good project to invest in?
Yes, pretty much. But I think Dad summed it up well. He's like, it's just like having the carpet yanked from underneath you, right? So what normally happens in a rug is that somebody creates a project, you come in, everybody gets hype, and then as soon as they get your money, they delete the Discord, the Twitter, and every trace of their project and run away with your money. Right?
I cannot believe this is a real thing.
That's the real definition of a rug. I think a lot of people use it now to say that it just didn't go well. Like if something bad happened when they tried to invest in a project, or the project just didn't go the way they wanted to and they didn't make money, they'll say they got rugged. Or by that definition, rug means they ran off with everybody's money, and it happens a lot. But I think the first thing that I would always show somebody that's new to the space is how to do their own research. And I'm gonna throw it over to Detective Dan to actually fill us in, because he loves doing his own research. So how do you do your research,
I do, it's great.
Yeah.
Kristine, did you have anything you wanted to say there before I start sharing my screen and digging in? Or you're all good?
No, I'm really excited about this because I've come across a lot of content, and the reason I'm on that content to begin with is because, to my knowledge as a novice, that is me doing research. But then when the advice is do your own research, it makes me think, did I end up on the wrong channel? Like, is this not the research isn't this the research? So I'd love to know, what do you mean by doing my own research, and what does that actually look like?
Yeah, you made a really good point before, and I'll dig into this project in a second, but it's like 1 week in NFTs is like a year in the regular world. Like it's crazy how quickly this sort of environment moves. And the other thing is, I think people are very cautious because they don't want to take responsibility for anything that might change or might go wrong. So they'll talk about a project, say how great it is, and they'll get to the end and be like, yeah, but do your own research. Like, and that's just the common thing that we see a little bit of. So we're going to show you stuff that we do. And of course, we want everyone to look at it in their own light and kind of compare things what they've seen before as well. But Michael, let's share my screen. So the first thing that I look at is a general appreciation for the artwork and how much effort has been put into this project. A lot of things you see are copies or derivatives is what we say. And we tend to avoid those these days because it seems like people are just trying to rip off a trend and pull on the back of something else. So original projects is a great thing as well.
I'll add one thing on there. And when you see derivatives a lot, so Kristine, a key like giveaway of a potential rug, now that you know what it means, is that it was a low effort project, right? So you can very easily take something that was big like the Bored Apes or CryptoPunks, and it all just has code and metadata, right? You can copy that actual code and contract and create your own version and maybe like change it to, oh no, these are the like whatever punks, but they're not crypto punks, they're deserted punks, and just change a couple of the attributes and actually put it out. So when you see projects like that, I don't want to give you a percentage, but I would probably say at over half the time you're gonna get rugged because it was a low effort project. Yeah.
But can I ask a question? One step backwards. When you say, in order to find the artwork and like understand this, are you saying you're going to the person's actual website and sort of like digging from there, digging for information from there?
100%. But I think
okay.
Yeah. Step one is being plugged in though, right? Being plugged into crypto Twitter or NFT Twitter. Like I'm sure since you got into it, your feed looks a lot different. So for most of us, my feed, I don't follow anything but like Web3 related stuff, whether that's DeFi, crypto, or NFT. So I'm throwing out these terms because I think it's important to learn. There's something called meta, right? Meta just means like the latest trends or information. So if I want to get the latest like meta on what's happening in the space, I can easily pull up TweetDeck or my Twitter and see what's happening. There's other tools as well that Dan may talk about, like trackers and things like that as well. But that's kind of how we first hear about the space, or Discords and projects that we're in. But I'm gonna throw it back to Dan and kind of go through something like how he does his research.
Sweet. So the other thing we look at is we first want to find out how much they're trying to charge for this artwork as well, because I think there needs to be enough people interested for this actually to do well. So for this project, Dape, they have 8,808 Dapes. They haven't released a price yet. So it's, for me, they're launching on the 5th of March, February, March. So they're launching in like a week and a bit's time. 2 and a week's bit's time, but they don't have a price yet. So that's a little bit of a, like, I would almost call that a red flag for me. It's kind of like, I wonder why they haven't tried to release a price yet. So I've already got a cross in that box there. The amount that they're releasing, 8,888, that's a pretty standard amount. Anything below 10,000 is pretty standard these days. So I'm happy with that amount. But yeah, the fact that we haven't got a price yet is a little bit interesting.
Can I ask
the next thing? Yeah, please go.
About that. So when you say that they don't have a price yet and they're launching on the 5th of March, it's, what is not a red flag? Like when should a project have a price by? Like what's a healthy kind of time frame?
Yeah, it's a tough question, I suppose. There's two different ways that projects look at it. They kind of go, how much hype can we drum up before leading up to it? And then they're going to pick their own price. So they're kind of basing it off the market and how well the market goes. But I think it's a bit cheeky as well to do it that way. So I would say it is a marketing tactic in itself. But I think if I want confidence in something, I need to know that they're not just bumping up the price to make more money from me, but they agreed to do something in a certain way. And I think that's the thing is they need to have set terms and kind of stick to them the whole way along and not just kind of make things up as they go. So I would like to see at least a month out, or when they release their minting date, so they know when they're going to be selling, That's when I want to see the price there.
Okay,
Mike,
when they know they're about to sell, you would like some sort of a price available to see.
100%.
That's really handy. Like, I would never have known this because I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like a good project. I like the artwork, but I don't know anything. I don't know what the standard of price release dates are. I think a lot of novices, brand new people, like, we just want to get into the space and yeah. And okay, cool. Thank you.
If they were to release and it's a little bit smart, as Michael said, but if they were to release the price a week before, because it's so close that day, you're more than likely to be compelled to spend a little bit more than what you thought you would have originally. And it's all like psychology of it. And so to me, that I want a genuine, team that's really there to actually build a project that's going to last, not someone that's there to ramp up money and get more money out of me. Michael, would you add anything to that little comment I just made?
No, I think that's the main thing. When it comes to those prices, I think, Kristine, you had a question in there, just trying to know what the price range is. The more you hang out in the space, the more you know like a good price range. So I would say on average, we'd probably see 0.05 ETH to like 0.08 is what it used to be. Now what you're starting to see is people with influence are releasing projects and they're doing these different type of Dutch auctions and they're trying to get a lot more money. So now the price is going up and up and up. So I would say the range that I'm comfortable with is like 0.05 to 0.08 ETH, but now people are dropping stuff for 0.2 and up, and we've seen other projects drop for 2 or 3 ETH that are video games and they're saying they're using the money to develop the game. That's a whole different conversation, but I pretty much agree with Dan on just trying to find the price, because I can learn a lot about what a project is trying to do with the price. I'll give you a good example. So you can quickly do the math. If you figure out how much, what their mint price is times 8,888, you can see how much money they're trying to raise. So if it doesn't add up, if it's just like a project that's saying, oh, it's cool artwork and we're trying to build a community is just a buzzword. But if you do the math and they're going to make like $20 million, you're just like, why do you need $20 million for this project? Am I missing something? That's kind of
But that's a clear benchmark. Yeah. So it's like 1 month out, or at least when the mint date is out. And then what it used to be was 0.05 to 0.08. But for me right now, I've started to look because I'm ready to, buy. And my average of what I'm seeing is like 0.3, 0.4 as the mint price. Yeah.
Which is good, cool. Depending on the utility, which I'm sure Dan will talk about some more.
Okay, cool. All right, set. Thank you,
Michael. You just led us into a good segue, which is talking about there's art, but what other value does the project hold? And then a lot of people, Michael mentioned briefly about, it might be a gaming aspect. So they might be like, hey, we're raising fund to make a game. Or it might be that it's just like a culture movement or a community that is kind of like the utility of it as well. So, and when we say utility, it means just anything additional besides the artwork itself. So these guys, and they're often called a roadmap as well. So they've called theirs the Dape map, which is completely fine. But they've only got 4 things on their roadmap or Dape map. So they've got the collection reveal, community building, advertising. They're gonna make digital wearables, merchandise, brand expansion, music integration, metaverse integration, and sorry, I'm going quickly, but we'll recap it in a second. Dape Studios, Dape version 2. So is there anything that actually stands out to anyone else?
I mean, I'll go first. I mean, it's one of those things where I think not really. The thing I see about this, and just to kind of lay it out for you, Kristine, like it's called Dape because that stands for Doodle Ape. So Doodles are one of the huge blue chip projects. And of course, Bored Apes is a blue chip project. So I kind of see right through what they did. They're like, I'm going to take 2 big projects and kind of combine them together and create my own thing. So I get it. And also I feel like there's a video on here as well that we may get a chance to show this on their Twitter. That's a super dope video. It has the music, has them hanging out by cars. So it feels more like a cultural move, but there's not anything from a utility perspective that really gets me excited personally. What are your thoughts, Kristine, just from seeing those little things that Dan showed?
I agree. I think at this stage, when I look at projects, I'm looking for something more than community, more than something that sounds like hype. Everything that you said about this is what I would naturally think now. So my next question, or the next thing that I'd be looking for, is like, what's the tangible, what's the real thing that's going to happen after this?
Yeah, so true.
That's a great point.
I often think about like, so the way I look at investments on a roadmap, if this project was to go to zero, if the artwork was to go to zero, would those roadmap utilities have any value still? And it's like merchandise, no. It's like events, no. Like if it went to zero, it wouldn't. But like if it was like a play to earn game, or if it was access to education, even if the project went to zero, those utilities would actually still be valuable to me. So that's the kind of way that I look at that.
Also,
that's really nice.
Another key thing as well, like there's very simple copy and paste stuff you can do. So like Dan said, you see gaming, you see merchandise, you see metaverse integration. If Dan goes back and shows on that Dape map, it said exploring by a lot of this stuff. So it said merchandise, exploring. It said metaverse, exploring. That means that we put this here, and if enough people ask for it, maybe we'll do it, but we kind of just got it there because it needs to be there because everybody else does it. So I don't even know. It says Dape Studios and Dape V2. Nothing means anything. It just feels like a bunch of hype. And I think the thing that you'll find the more you start investing in these projects is that you will get absolutely wrecked buying into hype projects because it drives like a rational behavior in the market. This is a fully irrational market, but a lot of people FOMO in and they'll overpay for stuff and then they want to get out. So if you're trying to trade this, there's not really any trends you can follow because there's just a bunch of emotions and not enough logic behind it when it comes to actually trying to trade a drop like this when it comes to hype. Those are my kind of thoughts around it. Yeah.
So my next question is, why is this project doing so well? Like if we've looked at it and we've gone, okay, it's got cool artwork, they haven't got a price, so I'd probably skip by this pretty quickly. But like, yeah, well, what has got it given it that hype? And then we kind of look to see if there's a team behind it. So now what we usually do is open up the Twitter of any founders. And that's the other thing that we look for. We want to make sure that we can actually see who's behind this project and verify that they are genuine people or they are real people. A lot of people don't want to be doxed or they don't want to be revealed. And that's completely fine. That's up to them. But they're going to have challenges in releasing a project that kind of can build trust as well. It's like if you want to know that the person that you're spending your money with is actually a reputable person or someone that has influence as well. So this is the Dape Chief, they're calling himself, so the founder. So he's got 3,000 follows. He's followed by Bento Boy, which is another popular NFT influencer, we'll call him.
Yeah.
But then the other interesting one is that there's a verified account named Serpent, and they've got 223,000 followers. So you understand, being in marketing and YouTube and stuff like that, if you have influence, you have power, that's for sure.
Okay, so just confirming my understanding here, we're looking at the founders now and how we think, how trustworthy they are and how able they are to see these promises through.
100%. And if you look at it as well, like when I see for Hall, I see that it used to work in the music industry for Atlantic Records, did some stuff with YSL, 300 Entertainment, and Trippie Redd, which is huge in the hip hop space. It doesn't say what they did there, but I get it. You can have enough influence just from that alone. And then when I look at Serpent, they not only have 200,000+ on Twitter, they also have 635,000 on YouTube as well, that it says there as well. So the thing that we did off air is that we went and looked and seen what was that YouTube channel about. I kind of already figured when I see numbers that big, it's a gaming channel. So I'm always thinking about correlation to projects. So how dense is that actual YouTube community? Is there a lot of NFT people in there? Or is it just a bunch of members and people that are in the games that may not cross over? So those are things that I like to kind of look at.
It looks like, so you guys are looking at the founders, you've gone to their Twitter. Does it matter to you guys at all that we don't see the actual faces of the founders?
Some will and some won't. I kind of look about, once the account's verified, so that's a little bit of a boost for me. But I then also look at, what else have they been working on? Is there anything else that makes them, have a bit more credibility as well? Some people will, like the actual chief, we don't even know if that's him as well. So like sometimes it might just be a random picture, but they've also got their Instagram links, which we could go on and then check from there. So yes, it would be nice if we saw their face, but no, it's not necessary. And every time, I think if we were to go to their Twitter account and we can see that, when their Twitter account was being created and it was only created a month ago, then there'd be some red flags there. But if it's been around for a while, it's got a few followers, there's some other people in the NFT industry that they're both following that are kind of mutual, then I think I'm okay with not having a real face there.
Yeah, and for reference as well, like the Bored Apes, which is the biggest collection, nobody knew who they were until a couple weeks ago. And what happened was, I don't know if you were up on it, but a journalist from, I think it was New York Times, actually like dug deep, and it's called undoxing. Doxing means you show somebody's identity. So somebody actually went in and like revealed their identity without their permission and put it out in an article, and it came out. So these guys were, made multi-millions, created a whole brand that's huge without revealing their identity, but they were able to still show their credentials and that they were legit without that being revealed. So privacy is big in Web3. So I think that's the reason why we don't really care about showing the faces. Like for us in the project that we're doing, you see our faces mainly because we're on YouTube and we really want to be based on education and share information. So that's why you see us. A lot of other projects don't show their faces. They just show things they've worked on and their history and those things as well. Just a bit of context.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a bit more about your personal preference as an investor.
100%. My final thoughts are this. So we always go through these videos and we always tell you guys, including Kristine, how to do your own research, but this is an irrational market that's driven by hype. So from what I see in this project, the founders look legit. It has enough hype, so I would invest in it depending on what the mint price is. If it's not overpriced, it's something I would invest in. But as far as my strategy for trading this, I would get in on it. I wouldn't mint it. I would actually try to find a dip after it mints for people trying to sell it off and make quick flips. And then I wouldn't hold it through revealed either, because I know it'll be a hard dip on reveal because people are not going to get the actual ones that they wanted. That's my kind of trading alpha or strategy behind this and what my thoughts are on it. Before we get out of here, Kristine, what are your final thoughts around like doing your own research?
Doing my own research. So it sounds to me that, first of all, it's good to know. I feel as though I'm kind of on the right track. At the beginning, I'd be on OpenSea and then I'd go to Twitter and I would cross-check some things, but I simply didn't really know like whether I even should care about a roadmap. But it's almost like, tell me if I'm on the right track, but the more information that you have, the more you can make a decision about how you want to invest and if you 100%. Want to invest. The thing that really stood out to me about this particular interview is understanding things like pricing. I never would have known to even think like a healthy kind of pattern would be a price is available a month out or when they say their mint date. I never would have known to look out for that. And in terms of like standard mint pricing now, also kind of understanding that the current benchmark has shifted and it is a little bit higher than what it used to be. So thank you. Those are huge takeaways.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. Stay tuned. There will be a follow-up with Kristine where we go deeper on her questions. Guys, until next time, it's your friendly neighborhood FUD fighter, Michael T. Ragland, Detective Dan, and our good friend, Kristine Fernandez signing off. We'll catch you next time. Peace.
See ya.
See you next time.